With 2023 beckoning and the election frenzy in the country becoming more stronger each day, politicians are increasingly becoming visible, making more and more promises.
Primary education from grade 1 to grade 7 must be provided completely free.
Every village, in 3 years, there will be a ball in a run solar.
Patinongopinda tunhu chokutanga kukudzorerai pamakaziwa navamugabe. Toda kudzorera maticha kwavaiva kwokuti ticha aizikanwa semunhu aitenga zikoti zheadmaster nenyaya yokuti anga ane udzamu nejikiniki.
But are these promises going to be fulfilled? The electorate is pondering on who to vote for in the council, parliamentary, and even presidential election. We bring you the candidate, where we interrogate their plans, their manifestos, their programs, to make sure that we give you information to make a choice on who to vote for. The candidate on Sly Media TV.
If the ballot paper is going to be printed today, his name will be number 1. His name will be top on the list. Come the 24th of August 2023, will his name still be on the top? Will he be the ultimate winner? The person that I'm talking about today is a businessman and also a politician. To some, he is based in South Africa. To some, he is based in Zimbabwe. As the chat goes on, he will tell us where he is based now. But this is the program that we give you now and then. The program is The Candidate, the program where we invite politicians to come and talk to you, the electorate. Our duty is just to ask questions on your behalf. And today we have invited, as I said, a politician and a businessman, Joseph Busha, to come and share with us his manifesto, so that by the end of the day or before the 23rd, you will have made up your mind. As I said, this is the program, The Candidate. If you can't find us here on Facebook, you can also follow or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, we are also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok as well. Mr. Bush, thank you for accepting our invitation to come and talk to the electorate.
I'm grateful to be here.
To some, there's a school of thought that some are getting into politics because there is money into it. I know you are a business person. What motivated you to get into politics?
To serve the people. I think, after running a business where you start something and you give your employees and the last one to pay yourself or to eat, basically I believe now I'm at the right time to be able to come and contribute towards the development of my own country, towards serving people. So the motivation really is to be able to give a chance, an opportunity for every Zimbabwean to become the best of what they can be. And we can only do that if the economy is working well. When people have got jobs, when people have got education, when people have got homes, when people have got all the necessary basic human requirements, then we can get the best of our people and make Zimbabwe great again.
You talked about serving the people. We have been in the majority rule since 1980. Obviously, the people that are there have been there since 1980, the same government, but under different leadership. They are also saying they are serving the people. And they are also saying you are coming in to serve the people. What's the difference there?
So the difference is the waiter. If you go to a restaurant, the waiter will be serving you, not serving themselves, right? Because you sit there, the waiter comes and then they serve you. These guys, they're saying they're serving the people. No, they're not serving the people. They're serving themselves, okay? They're serving themselves first. That's what they are doing. And why I said that, because all these years, all these years, they were saying they are giving seeds to the people, they are giving this and that to the people, but the people are still poor. The people are still hungry. Their children are still going outside the country to look for better opportunities. Their mothers are still going out of the countries to be nurses. Their fathers are still getting out of the country to be mechanics. So that is really, for me, the issue. So they are not saving the people because the people are still flocking out of the country. If they were saving the people, would not be flocking out of the country.
Mr. Busha, you also said one of the issues that you want to look at is employment creation. Just a week ago, the government of today says they've created 2 million jobs. In your own opinion, in your own view, as a business person as well and as a politician, is that factual or fallacy?
That's fallacy. That's laughable. If you had created 2 million jobs in Zimbabwe, the economy would be doing far much better than what it is doing now. Zimbabweans would not be looking for passports and flocking at the borders. So really, those are manufactured numbers. I don't know who said that in government, but certainly I think if it is somebody in government who said that, that person is very irresponsible, and I think they must be fired.
And okay, before we get into your manifesto, I remember very well last time during a press conference, you also talked about rewriting the constitution. Where do you think it's not, serving the people, and why should we have a constitution when another new constitution when recently in 2013 we had another one?
The constitution, like some few laws, are written to safeguard the abusers of the law. Okay, so that constitution was written to save the elite, to save those in government. That's what it was written for. Okay, but not to save the people, because right now you cannot hold the president accountable, you cannot hold the minister accountable, you cannot hold parliament accountable. You might have 1 or 2 sections that says that you as an individual, as a citizen, you've got the right to go and approach. I'll give you an example why I think it needs to be rewritten. So the Constitution, say for example, Section 103, 104, 106 says that no executive, that is the deputy president, ministers and deputy ministers, can hold any 2 public positions. Okay. As we know, the vice president is also Minister of Health, and we've got ministers who are MPs. Currently, Minister of Finance, Mtuli Ngobe, as an executive and Minister of Finance, he's campaigning to be an MP for Calgary Park in Bulawayo. That's now in conflict with those sections of the Constitution, because then it's going to have 2 public offices. Now, if the people say, no, you are not doing well, as a motion in Parliament, because he's also an MP and a minister, he can't hold himself accountable as a minister of, say, local government and so on. You can't hold yourself accountable. So that needs to be basically removed, okay, in that. But also, we've got all these perks that are given to the executive, including even MPs. Okay. For example, a councillor is entitled to 2 stands. Is it 3 stands or 2 stands upon being elected? Why not an ordinary citizen? So already you're seeing that the system promotes that for you to have access to assets, you must be in government. So people are not going into government to serve, they are going there to be served, to enrich themselves, be the first ones to dip into the national treasure, save themselves first before they can save people. So we want to change that. We want to change that to ensure that the chiefs are also not controlled by government. Because if the chief then feels that they owe it to the current president or whoever is the president for the car and so on, they basically become part of the government or part of the politics, not even the government, because then they owe their allegiance to the president. So that needs to be changed as well, because I believe traditional leaders must be independent, must be outside the executive power. So there's no separation of powers. you find that judges today are being given houses for free. Where have you ever seen that in the world? They must work, they must use, because then there's conflict, because their decisions will be influenced by whoever gives them those things. And I think that's wrong, because they are working, they are civil servants, they work, paid through your taxes, and they're getting houses. Again, that's where you find that the judiciary and the executive, there's no separation and holding each other accountable.
So you gave an example of the vice president being the vice president and also a minister of health. Can that not be challenged in a court of law?
It should be challenged.
So why then wait to rewrite the constitution rather than just take?
So we need to rewrite so that it does not get abused again in the future. Because now, if you go to court and the court is captured, what do you get there? You're going to waste money going to lawyers because you're going to lose. They will simply ignore it as well. Okay. Because you see, Parliament is supposed to be holding those guys accountable. But I'm saying if the MP was supposed to hold the executive, remember, the executive is different from Parliament. Now, if the parliamentarians who are supposed to hold the executive, the ministers and the president accountable, say, what are you doing? Because the parliamentarians are supposed to be more hands-on from a service delivery perspective, because they represent the people. They'll come and say, oh, my people in Bari, they don't have food. My people in Bari, they don't have water. My people in Bari, they don't have electricity. But if that MP now is also a minister, how are they going to say, now I don't have, because I'm the same person? So that's the reason why they could not hold the president accountable to say, well, your appointment is now in void because it's in conflict with the Constitution. Himself, Section 90, or I think it's 90, on the president's powers and stuff, it says the president must obey, respect the Constitution. And by not doing that, he's not obeying and not respecting the Constitution.
You talked about the judges, being given cars, loans, and houses. This election, 2023, we have seen quite a number of politicians approaching the courts before. And one of the political parties is leading in taking other politicians to court. For example, ZANU-PF, and its affiliates. They approached the High Court claiming that the CCC candidates filed the nomination papers late. They also, another one, ZANU-PF linked activists took Kasugwere to court. And why in 2023 have we seen ZANU-PF, approaching the courts so much? But long back, it used to be the opposition after the elections, claiming the elections were not free and fair, they were rigged. But now, why is ZANU-PF, so eager to go to the courts before the elections?
Abuse of power. As I said to you, you see, those things you find that they would go to court, as you say, to challenge A, B, C, D, right? Okay. But the judgment that is coming really is in favor. Some people are saying the courts are captured. I think for me, it just shows that the electoral process itself is flawed. Okay. Because if the electoral process is fine and not flawed, and procedures are followed, and ZEC communicates properly on the criteria, the prerequisites, the do's and the don'ts, then we shouldn't be having these problems. So we're having these problems because certainly there's some flaws everywhere, and hence everybody is taking advantage of those flaws. Because say, for example, in the case of Kasugwere, if ZEC itself knew the laws, right, okay, they should not even accepted his papers.
But let's assume they do know, because that's why they accepted his papers.
Well, but then, which means it's in conflict with the section that was quoted, that you can't be away for 18 consecutive months out of the country, then it disqualifies you. But I think when you look at it, does it say you are not a resident of Zimbabwe, you are not a Zimbabweans? So those are the things that, if they know, those are the finer prints of the process. They ought to have known that, and they ought to have pointed that one out. Okay.
And not accepted.
But I think also in the future, the president himself or the candidate himself or herself must actually go to the nomination court so they can actually see and have a sense.
But I'm also surprised, probably because I don't understand the law. So you are one of the business person that is also based in South Africa, but your nomination papers are accepted and you're not challenged in court as well compared to Kasukwe.
No, I'm not based in South Africa. Or I'm also here. I'm in Zimbabwe every month. I'm in South Africa every month. I'm in Swaziland because I travel for business. So I travel for business, but I live in Zimbabwe. I've got a house in Zimbabwe. I go to church in my village. So if you were to ask anybody that would you go 10 days without seeing me or 20, it's impossible.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
So passports can also show, how often you are going out or in of the country.
But you can also jump the border. Zimbabweans are well known for that.
So some are doing that.
There's a school of thought that opposition approaching the courts, as individual presidential candidate or as political parties, this gives an advantage to ZANU-PF. The best way to dislodge the ruling party from 1980 to date is for the opposition party to join hands and form a coalition. Has that ever crossed your mind, or has that ever been discussed within the political field as opposition political parties to field one candidate?
So it has been discussed, but you see, those who share the same vision, those with the same values, principles, have already formed coalitions. We had the MDC Alliance, which is a coalition. MDC itself is a coalition in the sense that you've got different people with different objectives, but they think that, our objective is to just remove ZANU-PF out of power. Hence, it is a coalition. So it was a coalition of trade unionists and other people and individuals. That's why, MDC could break into 7 offsprings because it is a coalition. So coalitions never work. Coalitions have never worked elsewhere, in the world. I can tell you one of the countries that is run by coalitions is Lesotho. And every 2 years, they go to elections because their coalitions walk away and break down. Some of the largest municipalities or local authorities in South Africa are run by coalitions. That's why you have a mayor every 6 months or every year instead of Joburg and Swane, because coalitions don't work. If you don't have shared values, it will never work. But I think it's always healthy to have 3 or 4 parties so that there's the alternative. So here you've got the establishment. The establishment is the ruling parties, ZANU-PF, and the MDC formations, and we are the real alternative.
After the 2018 elections, President Mnangagwa invited presidential candidates that participated in the elections and formed political actors dialogue. Were you part of it, and if not, why?
Well, I'm not an actor, so it's called political actors dialogue. So I'm not an actor. I'm serious about what I do. I'm an authentic person. So Zimbabwe is looking for authentic leadership, and hence that's not authentic. That's why it's a failure. How do you belong to an organization where the person who got the second most votes, which is Advocate Shamisa, was not there? So then it made it null and void. It made it Mahumwe, a child's play. It made it the actors, pretenders, yeah.
Right. Let's come now to your manifesto, Mr. President. What is it, from your manifesto, probably in terms of priority, let's say the top 5 from number 1. What is it that you are promising the people of Zimbabwe if you win the upcoming elections?
The first one is freedom. That's number 1.
What do you mean?
Which is on our domestic policy. When people are free, they are happier. When people are happy and free, they are at their best. Then they become their best of whatever they can be. So we want to make sure that Zimbabwe is a free society. There's mutual respect, respect of the rule of law, property rights. Because if you don't feel that whatever you think you own belongs to it or it can be taken away, then you are not free. So that's number one. You can't invest when you think that things are going down. Okay. So we need to be able to bring in the trust and the confidence and the sense of belonging together to the country. Then the second thing we need to do is to be able to use our natural resources.
Before we get to the second one on the national resources, let's stick to the freedom. What kind of freedom are you talking about? Because as of now, according to those that are in power now, Zimbabwe is free. There is freedom. People went to war to fight for freedom. Which freedom are you talking about now?
What is freedom? So going to war and fighting for freedom does not mean that some of them who were doing that understand what we're fighting for. Because if they understood what we're fighting for, which is really equal opportunities for all Zimbabweans, all of us equal above the law, okay, no one above the law, and all of us equal in the face of the law, then we will not be where we are. Okay, so how do you say if people are free when you are told that in a village, if you don't belong to ZANU-PF, then you are an enemy? Today they still say Pasine Mandu. Who is Mandu in Zimbabwe? When you get a small piece of land, 5 hectares, and you're told that, you know, there's a letter of offer, whatever you signed. But if you oppose the government, or not even oppose, if you belong to another organization government does not want, they threaten to take your farm or your plot. That's not freedom. You know that most of the war veterans, some of them are not free. They're just there because they feel threatened that they will lose the little pieces of land they got. So that's not freedom. Are you free yourself? I mean, go and ask people in the streets that, are you free? And you know, when you are free, you must be able to do what you want to do within the confines of the Constitution, respecting other people. But you see, if you cannot just make any comment, and if that comment is misconstrued, then you're in jail, then you can't be free.
But why do you, as politicians, use that weapon to intimidate the people that you also want voters from? It's not your party that is doing that, but this is just a question as a politician. Why do you intimidate people and then you want their votes? And how, in your mind and in your conscience, how do you lead people that you know don't want you?
Some of them cannot even go to vote. Some of them cannot attend a meeting because they fear to be seen. So is that freedom? You know, they say, no, I can't talk to you because my table, if I'm a vendor, will be taken away. I can't do this because I can't park at this station if I'm a transporter. So those are some of the issues I think we need to be able to look at, to say, well, listen, you know, we need to change that so that people are able to participate freely economically in the country. Why they do that for me is, I said to you, possibly, you know, Zimbabwe has been ruled at least from about 87 going forward, right, by decree and by force. So we're not living based on our values. I want a value-based system, not a rule or law-based system. And this is what it is. The law says this. That's why we've got POSA. That's why we now have got this new patriotic bill and so on. Because it's meant to constrain people's freedom, civil liberties. You know, if we have a sense of belonging, why would I destroy what is mine?
Yeah, but can you patriotism, you know?
It can't be enforced.
Yeah.
You can't enforce that. Trust and respect is the end. It cannot be forced. You can't command respect. You can't command the economy. You can only command, obviously, through laws, soldiers, and police. But that's where command is found, right? Not in a free society.
And comparing the two, they call it the first republic and the second. The first under the late President Robert Mugabe, and the second under President Emerson Mnangagwa. How do you compare the two in terms of governance? Has there been change from the one to where we are today?
In 1980, you know, at our Independence Day, this country was declared Zimbabwe. It was never declared first Zimbabwe. So I don't know what's the Second Republic.
That's what they call it.
The Second Republic for me is painful. People are suffering. If you go to a school and ask a child, can you find the Second Republic on the map of Africa? They won't find it. It does not exist. It's imaginary. There's nothing called Second Republic. If there is such a thing, of course, Second Republic, then we don't know it. We don't want it. It's painful. So you can't compare the two. President Mugabe was a nationalist, and in 1980, everybody was fighting for Zimbabwe. So we had Rhodesia, which we did not like. Then there was Rhodesia, Zimbabwe of Muzorewa, okay? And then we had, and people rejected that. Then we had the real Zimbabwe. Okay, so I don't know what the Second Republic about.
Okay, let's go to the second one. You're talking about the natural resources. How are they going to benefit Zimbabweans? Because we have been told, you know, like now, you know, and this is not the first time that we are hearing about it, that Zimbabwe is quite a lot of, you know, natural resources, and, you know, they're supposed to, or they are benefiting people, or they're supposed to benefit the ordinary people. How are you going to see to it that, as your government, the natural resources benefit the ordinary Zimbabweans?
They're supposed to, and they are not, and that's a fact. They are not, because if they were benefiting the people, then I think all of us would have something to do economically. Our children, mothers and grandmothers will not be running to go to other countries to seek work and employment. So the natural resources, basically, if you look at our slogan, it says upenyuko and ufumi munyika. So we need to retain the worth of the country within the country. That's what we fought the war for. So right now, I think there's really nothing we can claim that we own or we have created, because everything is being done for us by other nations. You know, if you go to any of the retailers, whether it's Pick and Pay, Spar, the products, you know, possibly 95% of those products are not Zimbabweans. They're manufactured in South Africa or elsewhere. Okay, and when a country is doing that, okay, then basically there's no exploitation of your natural resources for your economic benefit. If you look at the minerals, say for example, they are all being shipped overseas to China, Russia, Belarus, but mainly to China. So we're not benefiting from those mineral resources because they're going as raw as they have. Even the quarry stones, you know, the granite. Granite is being shipped out of the country. I mean, if you fail to beneficiate granite, just a simple stone, okay, what about lithium or the other minerals that need processing, more processing? So that's a failure of the government. So what we want to do is to change that and make sure that we create new industries through beneficiation of our natural resources. That is the minerals we take from the ground. The other resource, which is the main resource, which is land, which is non-depleting asset, that basically we want to make sure that we produce as much as food as possible to be able to feed Zimbabwe and the entire world.
You talked about, you gave an example of granite, that is not benefiting the locals. Is it the ignorance of the people that enter into deals as leaders? You know, because I will come as an investor and say, no, I want that stone that is in Mutoko. Then you say, oh, okay, you can have it. Obviously, when we sign a contract, there are terms and conditions. These people that are signing these deals and contracts, are they not aware of what is supposed to be done? Do they read and agree? Do they have commercial lawyers that sits on the agreements and look at it and say, no, in as much as we may take these stones from this Mutoko area to somewhere else, it is also supposed to benefit
the local community.
So in that agreement, is the agreement meant to benefit the locals or the person signing, or, you know, so that you term it as failure in your, as a politician? What goes on when one signs this kind of mega deals that we hear every day, but at the end of the day, they don't benefit the ordinary people?
So everything starts at the top. So they say when the fish is rotting, it starts with the head. Fish rots from the head. So the government is there to put in policies together that will guide society and benefit the country. So if government have failed to craft policies to ensure that we benefit from our natural resources, to ensure that we create industries through beneficiation of our natural resources along the value chain, okay? And because we are in such a society that is consumption-based, where all we want, as Africans is money, then it does not matter what happens, because as long as the person gives me the money, I'm happy, and then I walk away. So they don't think beyond money. That's what the problem with Africa. Africans don't understand money. We don't understand money.
So, Mr. President.
So in essence, those people basically who then get into these deals is because of failure of government to put policies around natural resources. And those policies then must be followed, so that any businessman, before you start a business, you then know these are the do's and the don'ts, and this is what you need to do. So if I get this stone, okay, I can only take it to this process, to this place, and from that place it goes to another. So you then need to decide to say, are you a miner? Okay, and it ends from extracting the stone, or are you going to produce the product where we can now have products made in Zimbabwe?
Mr. President, can we not use the patriotic bill to make the government or the current leaders accountable? Because for me, if you sign a contract that does not benefit the locals, for example, let's talk about lithium, and let's talk about oil in Zaraban, let's talk about the granite in Muto. Then as a president and as a leaders, in government, you sign contracts that does not benefit the locals. That's unpatriotic.
Exactly.
So, yes. So can't we not use this patriotic bill? The one that they said, let's legalize, our behavior and love our country. Because for me, signing a contract that does not benefit the locals, it's unpatriotic.
So they are the first ones to be unpatriotic.
Yes, I'm saying, can you not use that bill and take them to court and say, you are unpatriotic?
But you can't take them to court because they are the courts. The problem in Zimbabwe is that, the ruling party is the government, and the government is the ruling party. And the government has got all these spheres of governance, okay, and one of these being the legal. And that legal basically is part of the government. It's part of the executive.
But do you think despite the ruling at the end of the day, the judgment, we also need to see examples from politicians. Say, no, you gave us a bill that says we should be patriotic, but things that are doing are not patriotic.
Agree with you. And I think that's a very good point, to take it back to them, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But I guess, you see, the lawyers and some of the candidates who are lawyers are not, I don't know why they're not reading that, because you find that most of these people in politics, they're actually lawyers, right? Okay, most of them, okay? And why they can't interpret the Constitution and the law, I don't know. But I agree with you. So we're saying the first thing is actually to get a new president who is accountable, who is responsible, who understands these issues to take charge of the country. Then you can implement those governance. But I think if you get people who are conflicted, okay, they then can change the rules or get the rules applied.
So we talked about freedom, we talked about the issue of national resources. What is the third one in terms of your priorities now?
Work the land, which is the creation of jobs. Okay, so you see, if you don't have a secure job, it means you've got no income security, and it means you've got no retirement security. So we want to make sure that when our children go to school, they've got an expectation and at least a sense of comfort that there are opportunities for them to be able to apply their trade. So I believe the next thing is to say, how, from this beneficiation policy, how do we create jobs in the different sectors along the value chain to be able to make sure that we all secured from a financial perspective? That's what we will do. Then the second issue is really, how do we keep our natural environment as close to the natural state we found it in as much as possible? You find that now all these little mountains, hills, they're being destroyed with quarrying. The beauty is gone, okay? And then you're going to leave it, then there's going to be global warming. And then we're going to be prone to winds, because you see these mountains and trees, they actually stop winds. Now, if it's going to be flat, it means then we're also changing, the kind of the weather pattern in Zimbabwe, and hence we start seeing all these cyclones and other effects that are coming through, because we're not looking after the environment. The other issue is that you find that right now, because the government is so desperate and people just want to focus on money, they're taking agricultural land and converting all those things into residential. Have you seen that? Not only in Harare, it's going to be one, because they're putting houses and stuff where there was the most fertile land we have. Okay, so we need to have a very good policy around land use. Okay, so people are monetizing land they got for free by building houses, so that they just make the dime, the money, which is wrong. Then I think we also talk about issues of health, health, free education. I believe that in the universal health system, where everybody must have access to quality medical attention. So it's quite important for me and for us as a party, including free education. I think it's also quite important for us as a party. Water and sanitation. That is life. That is also very important. So how are we doing water harvesting? How are we keeping the natural state so that the water from the rivers can remain clean? So there's too much pollution into it, and hence it's not clean for use, and hence we put lots of chemicals into the water we eat, which affects our health in the future. So those policies on the natural environment for me is quite important. Then the other policy we want to do is rural industrial zones or economic zones. Because I think if you talk about Mtoko, say for example, you're talking about the quarry mines, we could make it an economic zone, based on the quarry and the mining there, where everything is made there. And imagine something written, made in Toko, Masho, and the East Province, Zimbabwe, going to China, going to Russia, going to Italy. That would be great, isn't it?
So, as a politician, I think you've also had the opportunity to, to interact with war veterans that were at the front during the War of Liberation. What is their view with the state of current affairs?
So I also want to correct you, because I think yes, you call me the politician. I'm more of a social worker than a politician, because there's such a bad tag to the name, to this word called politician. Politicians have been misleading people, lying to people, destroying the country for their own benefit, manipulating the population. So I'm the messenger of peace. I'm more of a businessman and a social worker. So just like the nation is divided, those who are benefiting are happy with the status quo. So the same with the war veterans as a special interest group. Those people are still haunted. They suffered, they saw tragedies, they lost limbs, they've got some pain here through bullets, But right now, I think they got the West deal, out of this, independence, what they fought for. Remember 1997, when the war veterans marched to State House demanding at least, compensation. They got what, $50,000 Zimbabwean dollars at that time as once off, and 4,000 gratuity, which became nothing, because they had to go and complain, and because they felt left out, where the top elites within the liberation struggle and the executive government were benefiting more than them, yet they're the people on the forefront. So certainly I think I feel for them. They are not happy, and it's part of, for me, what drives me to do what I'm doing, to be able to say, well, listen, let me go and stand for them. As one of those who was part of the liberation struggle from a Mjiba perspective, that, listen, when we were attempting the Pungwes, the Moraris, and the Raris, this is not what was being preached. What was being preached that, Zimbabwe shaita uchino mukaga, tishaita zagati. But those things are not happening. And hence they were, they are unhappy, and I understand, and I'm also unhappy. I understand why they are unhappy, because the majority of them that were leading, carrying the guns in the liberation struggle, are the most disadvantaged today.
Coming back to the issue of land, we have seen that since the start of what they call the land reform, the resettled or new farmers, were being given inputs, to kickstart farming. But this has been going on every season, year in, year out. Is it, as Zimbabweans or as new farmers, we are bad farmers in such a way that there is no a year that you say, no, I have had enough, I have harvested, I have the profits, now I can stand on my 2 feet and continue farming? It's always year in. The inputs come with different names. With this input, presidential, what input, here what input, here what input. Where are we going to reach at a certain time where we say, as farmers, we are empowered, now we can stand on our own and use our profits to plow back into our land?
That's a corrupt scheme. So this whole presidential input program is a corrupt scheme. Okay? Why are we still hungry when we're getting them? Your question exactly. Why can't they stand on their own feet? Who is paying for them? How do you take taxpayers' money, public money, and give it to an individual who cannot account for it? Do you agree? Mm-hmm. So I bring something to you as a farmer. We give you all the inputs, but we don't even know how much you're giving back after what you have been given. Mm. And that money is public money. It's taxpayers' money. We give it to you as a farmer B. You farm, but we don't know. So for me, I think there's no accountability, there's no responsibility, and hence as a country, those things are not yielding results because we're taking public money, give it to a private individual for private use, and that person is not accountable. And that's what you talked about, patriotic bill, that possibly we must use it against them, that listen, you're not being patriotic. You've been given money by the people of Zimbabwe, but you have got nothing to show to them, to say thank you. You gave me money to your inputs to plant. This is what I've planted. Now I'm giving you food at a discount.
And coming to your campaign, Mr. President, how has it been like? We understand, in some places, they are declared no-go areas because they are termed stronghold of certain political parties.
You still get that. You still get, my posters were removed in Mrewa. You still get some of our supporters or people who believe in our party where they are told to remove our T-shirts. That happened in Mtoko. So where you dehumanize another person because you see them wearing a T-shirt, you go and say, no, you can't wear this T-shirt. But that's their clothes. That's possibly that's the only thing they have. And we're not stopping them from wearing any other T-shirt of their choice or clothes of their choice. So that is really quite sad that 43 years after independence, those things are happening in our country.
But where does that come from? You also talked about freedom at the start, and so obviously there's freedom of association. One should be free to belong to. So
you agree with me that the freedom is restricted in Zimbabwe?
Why? My question is, why do as Zimbabweans we go to such level? Because this message, I think, comes from the top to the bottom.
100%.
Does it come from the bottom to the top?
No, it's from the top. You see, if you are the father of a house, you say to your children, no one must come home after 8 p.m. That's the law you have put. But also yourself, unless if you have been at work, you also come home early. But if you come, and you lead by example, you don't punish the people, then they do as they please. Because right now, if you belong to the ruling party, you are the law to yourself. And people are abusing that. In 2008, people in Mtoko, there was long sleeves, short sleeve, where people were being hit because they chose to vote differently. That's not freedom. Okay, so it comes from the top, because if the top says, listen, don't kill in my name, don't commit acts of violence in my name, and if you do, You are then taken to prison where you belong, and then they won't do it. But they will continue doing it because those who are benefiting from those actions remain in power. President Mugabe in 2008 ran in a ashamed so-called elections because he ran uncontested on the rerun.
Coming to this election, do you think it is going to be fair?
Or it's not fair already, because there have been lots of court processes. How can a process be fair, when an outcome can be fair when rules are changed in the middle? For example, only 2 weeks ago, we now got told that billboards cannot be put unless they are approved, and then they take people's billboards down. That's not fair.
But is there a political party that is afraid of elections? Because as you're saying, rules are changed now and then. Okay, let me just be straight to the point. Do you think ZANU-PF is afraid of elections
They
this
are
time
afraid
around?
of it. No,
And
they've
why?
always been afraid of elections for the past at least 15 years or so. Because they knew they would lose, because people are not happy with them. And they will then put rules so that they keep power, they hold on to power. So in 2008, they used terror, which was raining hell in Mtoko and other areas, to retain power, because then people were scared to go and vote. So they are cowards.
Let's put the voters into two categories, the urban and the rural. What is it that you are promising the rural people if you get into power? In the first 100 days, what is it that they should hear from you as the next president?
The first 100 days.
Yes.
From day one is freedom. I'll scrap POSA, I'll scrap a lot of things. I'll just say, listen, this is your country. Do the best you can do for your country. This is your home. No one is made to destroy their own home. We built this Zimbabwe. We fought for this Zimbabwe. You can't destroy it. So that's the first thing I'll do. That does not need even 100 days or 10 days. It just needs day one from the inauguration that every Zimbabwean will know that they are free. And this is their home, and they need to protect their home. That's number one. So it cannot be forced. It cannot be written. You don't need the patriotic bill. You just need to say, this is what we... And you lead by example. And I will lead by example. That's the first thing I would do. Then the second thing I would do is to say, we need to create a new industry. So all our natural resources must be processed in Zimbabwe to the final consumable product. That's how we're going to create jobs. So no lithium is going to go out as raw material. No quarry stone is going to go out. So they must tell us, whoever is importing, they must tell us what do they want, what product do they want. Do they want tiles? What do they want? Do they want a table made out of stone? And then we'll make it for them. That's what I would do. And that's all, not even 100 days, 63 days.
And in terms of international relations, depending on where you're coming from, to some, our international relations is good, some is bad, some is bad, some is good. Your government, how are you going to deal with the good part? Are you going to, make it better? And when it's bad, are you going to make it good? What is your view and plan with international relations according to Zimbabwe's relations with other countries?
Everybody's going to love Zimbabwe because I'm lovable. And I'll put rules to make sure that there's mutual respect of peoples around the world, and we'll be non-aligned.
And as a social worker, assuming that you have not won the next elections, and I know you say you're going to win, assuming that you have not won, and whoever has won extends his or her hand and say, come in my government, let's work together, I'm giving you this portfolio, will you accept?
Yes, I'll do that, but based on conditions. The values, the principles, and the objectives. Is our vision the same? Can we align our values even if we might have different values? But at least the vision for Zimbabwe must be the same. Okay, if that is the same, no problem. I think I'm going to be involved this time. I'm going to be very, very involved, but making sure that I hold them accountable. So they won't bring me in as one of those guys they're going to co-opt and control and manage. No. I'm coming here to say, listen, this is the reason why we went to war. Let's make Zimbabwe better.
And
actually, they've got lots of things to benefit from me, because I don't think they know what they're doing. They don't, because that's why we've got problems up to now. We've got land that is lying fallow. The mines are going to the Chinese, Belarus, and other nations. We're not even building anything to say this is what we did for ourselves. The airport was not built by us. The parliament was not built for us. So imagine you take a child to say, come and see parliament. Then the child says, so who built this parliament? You say, oh, it's the Chinese. You go to Robert Gabriel Mugabe Airport. You say, who built this airport? Oh, it's the Chinese. They will ask you, so what are you doing? But if you go to Great Zimbabwe, the ruins, you know it's our forefathers.
So, as we conclude, Mr. Busha, these are your electorate. Just tell them why they need to vote for you if they haven't changed their mind, or if they've already made up their mind. They say, okay, I'm going to vote so and so, but because of what he said, I'm going to vote for this man. These are your viewers. These are the electorate. What is it that you say, I'm going to do this, and these are the reasons why you should vote for me?
Zimbabweans, fellow Zimbabweans, this is the time, and this is the only time, there cannot be any other time for you to exercise your power, for you to show your power. And the power you have is the power to choose. Choose myself, Joseph Makamba Busha. Choose FreeZim Congress for your freedom, for your future, for your prosperity. And there is no other time, as I said, other than now, to choose who you want to lead you. I represent your aspirations. I understand your needs. I understand your suffering. I'm with you. End the suffering today. And the only way to end the suffering is basically by voting for somebody who cares and for you. And I care for you. I'll do the best I can do for you. I'm the best qualified presidential candidate in Zimbabwe who have raised their hand today, and vote for me.
Mr. Busha, whom do you think, as we conclude, can give you a good run for your money, or a presidential candidate that is giving you sleepless nights? Say, this is my competitor.
So I think there are three of us. There's President Mnangagwa, there's the Advocate Shamisa. We are the three candidates that are leading in these elections. But from a suitability perspective, the most qualified perspective, people are going to look into that. I'm the most qualified presidential candidate of 2023, like I was in 2018.
There you had it. We cannot add anymore. This is your presidential candidate from Free Zimbabwe Congress. We have heard what he is promising you. He said, no, I am not a politician. I am a social worker. And if you believe in his values, if you believe in his principles, he has said, give me the confidence, give me your vote, so that Zimbabwe will have a freedom, the freedom that he says is not there. This is the program, the candidate, the program that we give you now and then, and this is an open invite. If you are a politician, if you are an activist, if you are a supporter of a political party and you think you need to sell your party to the electorate before the 23rd of August 2023, this is the time. We invite you to Sly Media, and remember, we also live stream on various social media platforms. If you can't find us on Sly Media, we are also somewhere there. And remember, we have a Facebook page, a YouTube channel. We are also on TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. And for now, my name is Robert Tafmane. Bye-bye.
With 2023 beckoning and the election frenzy in the country becoming more stronger each day, politicians are increasingly becoming visible, making more and more promises.
Primary education from grade 1 to grade 7 must be provided completely free.
Every village in 3 years there will be a ball inorana nesola.
Patinongopinda chinhu chekutanga kukudzorerai pamakasiyiwa navamugabe. Toda kudzorera maticha kwavaiva kwokuti ticha aizikanwa semunhu aitenga zikoti zihedmaster nenyaya yokuti anga ane udzamu nejikiniki.
But are these promises going to be fulfilled? The electorate is pondering on who to vote for in the council, parliamentary, and even presidential election. We bring you the candidate, where we interrogate their plans, their manifestos, their programs, to make sure that we give you information to make a choice on who to vote for. The candidate on Sly Media TV